You're supposed to build a pleasure, a desire, and an ecstasy for holiness, experience it, and then settle back down into life and fulfill the mission for which we were created. We all know the story where when the Mishkan was completed in the desert by the workers under Moshe's direction, the two sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, went into the Holy of Holies and never came out. They were consumed by the holy fire. The deeper understanding is that the holy fire doesn't mean a flame from their pan, from the altar fire. It means their enthusiasm, their inspiration, and their ecstasy. That holy fire consumed them. They died from ecstasy. Was that a sin? No. It was something extremely holy. To where Moshe says to Aaron, I thought we were the holy ones. Turns out they are the holy ones. Now, after that happened, God gave the instruction, the commandment, that we should never do that again. But there had been no commandment against it when Nadav and Avihu did it. So there was no violation, there was no sin, but God does not want that to happen. What's supposed to happen? You're supposed to build a pleasure, a desire, and an ecstasy for holiness, experience it, and then settle back down into life and fulfill the mission for which we were created. That basically is the movement of life. It's like breathing in, breathing out. You feel the ecstasy of being non-physical. Maybe that's the exhaling, but then you return, you settle back down to your mission, and that's the inhaling, or the other way around. But what was Aaron's reaction? So the Torah tells us, Vayidem Aaron, Aaron was silent. There are so many interpretations, all of them wonderful. The simple interpretation is, he was speechless with grief. Another interpretation is, he had no complaints. He didn't question God's judgment. Another interesting interpretation is, when we hear that somebody died, God forbid, we're supposed to say, Baruch Dayan Emes. Blessed is the true judge, which means we're stating God's proper justice, that those who die for a reason, and not for no reason, and not by mistake, and not by biased judgment. God is a true judge. So his judgments are always correct and moral and good. But in this case, Aaron remained silent. He did not say, Baruch Dayan Emes. And that tells us that when a death, any death, God forbid, is common, an old person lived a long life, passes away, you say, Baruch Dayan Emes. When a young person dies, We don't necessarily have to say it, which is really interesting. But the most profound insight, you can say the same thing in the negative by, for example, saying, and Aaron didn't say anything, and Aaron didn't speak, and Aaron had no comment. You can say what wasn't. When you say Aaron was silent, it suggests that his silence was not a passive one. In this verse, the word silence is a verb, not the absence of speech, not the absence of communication or the absence of words. In some way, Aaron spoke very loud, very clear, very elegant and eloquent, but he did it in his silence. His silence spoke so much. So we're not saying what Aaron didn't do, like he didn't complain or he didn't say or he didn't express his grief. No, on the contrary, he expressed everything, but in his silence. That's not such an uncommon thing. Very often, silence speaks more than words. For example, the Mishnah that says that there's nothing healthier or better than silence, and that silence is a protector or a sign of wisdom. Siyog lachochma shtika. Now you would think the average person is better off not talking. So, the expression, if a word is worth a silver coin, silence is worth a golden coin. That's true of the average person. Because for the average person, whatever he's about to say, he's probably better off not saying it. So he's better off remaining silent. That makes sense. Also, if you're young, you shouldn't be talking, you should be listening. You shouldn't be answering questions, you should be asking questions. That's how you get to be a chacham. But when it says, siyog lachachma shtika, that those who have chachma benefit from silence, why would a smart person be silent? Why should he? On the contrary, he's the one who should be doing all the talking. So there's a Hasidic insight that says this silence of the Chacham is not an absence of words. The silence of a Chacham speaks more than the words of the fool. So a Chacham is effective. He has a powerful influence when he remains silent, because it's a silence of wisdom, a silence of a Chacham. For example, what is that? The wisdom prayer, the wisdom, I forget what it's called. Help me accept what I can handle. No. Anyway, the point is, I should have the wisdom to know which is which. When should I be accepting and when should I be challenging? The wisdom to know which is which. The wisdom to know when to speak and when not to speak, which means When should I communicate to you with my words? When should I communicate to you by remaining silent? How will I affect you more powerfully, more effectively, more productively by saying or by not saying? Either way, I'm being active, not passive. So Aaron's silence was an active silence that spoke volumes. And that's why the Torah records it. If Aaron simply didn't say anything, why mention it at all? But it is a profound lesson that there is a time to speak and there's a time to refrain from speaking. But by refraining from speaking, you are accomplishing, you're having a powerful effect. It's not just the absence of speech. The same is true if we go back to Purim. The Megillah doesn't have God's name. That certainly was not meant to exclude God from the story. On the contrary, the fact that the Megillah does not mention God's name is such a powerful message that God is present everywhere. God is the mover and the shaker of everything. The miracle does not happen without God's personal involvement. And we know this so clearly, so strongly, that it need not be said. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. I want to invite you to join us as VIPs, partners in our work, and join us also for a personal chat with other members of the VIP club. We talk about many things. There's an opportunity to ask, to respond, to make a comment, to meet the other supporters. And together we can really make a difference in Jewish life and in life in general. So join us. It's goodtoknow.org. Log in, call, make contact, and join us with the VIPs.